today I'll be doing some teacups and maybe some sake cups, depending on, I don't know, how I feel. So, yeah. So I just gotta put this bat holder on and get started. And also get a bat, which is fairly important in order to throw. I always have trouble with this bat, so it's going to be pretty fun watching this. I don't know why this one is so difficult, but it is. Oh man, it's gonna be like, hey, why didn't you throw anything on Tuesday? Because I couldn't get the bat on. Oh my goodness. There are the holes that are on the bottom are different spaces, so you can use them on two different sizes of bats, and I always forget that, and then I line it up with the wrong thing. This is why these are not my favorite. I know they work because I've used them. There we go. Oh my goodness. That's why I use the ones that have the holes in the top, because then I can see where I'm going. Anyway. Aha. All right, so we're going to try for some teacups and maybe some sake cups. So, maybe we'll do the sake cups first, actually, because we can, I can throw those off the hump, is what it's called. I don't know why they call it that. I don't name these things. But what that means is that you use a big block of clay, and you only center the top portion, so you don't have to center the huge block all at once, and it makes it a lot easier to actually throw stuff. And I of course lied to you because I forgot I had these pre-made pieces of clay in here, and so maybe I'll just use those first to use them up. Let's do that. Gotta be economical. So, I've got my wedging board. I have got to find a better solution to this. And just gonna lightly wedge this. It's actually a fairly decent consistency. I need a real table or I need to do this on the ground. But, you know what? I wonder if it'd be worth it to do it on the ground. Maybe I'll try the next one. I normally, if I'm not streaming, when I'm wedging, I will put this on the floor and just kneel down and do it. And you get a lot better leverage and it goes faster. But, hi Robert. Yeah, the camera angles for trying to stream like physical stuff, it's a challenge. I saw, I was looking at other streams the other day, just curious, like, I'm sure other people are streaming pottery on here too, and they are. And there was one person, I should have kept his name so that I could find it again. There was one person who was doing, he had like camera angles in his studio, and I was like, ooh, that's very fancy. One day. So I just cut this into two. There's actually not a huge amount of clay to throw, but that's fine. The teacups are gonna be smaller teacups that I can hold in my hand, and then I'll do slightly larger teacups. I have pretty small hands, so I like ones that will fit in my hand, but they need to be a little bit bigger if they fit in most people's hands. So we'll just start there, and then I'll do the sake cups after this. Once I go through the pre-made little balls of clay that I've already got. So, you know, use what you've already got made. And it's kind of fun to throw really tiny things. This is like the size of clay that I used when I was first starting. And all I could make was this tiny little toothpick holder, which I still use, by the way. I could make a new one that looks nicer. But anyway, it's fun to kind of watch the evolution. Okay. So, since this is such a small amount of clay, woo, as I throw my sponge, ew, it's all dirty now. Oh my gosh, this basement is basically just dirt, I swear to you. Since it's not that much clay, I'm not gonna cone it up because this clay isn't gonna be able to take a ton of moisture since there's not very much of it. So I'm not gonna cone it up and down like I normally do. It's pretty easy to get centered because it's such a small amount. Just wanted to kind of push that clay down a little bit more. And now we will get a little bit more height. Okay, and we can start. All right, so these ones are kind of fun when they're smaller too, because you can form it a lot just by throwing it, which means that I don't need to wait. I mean, I'll still need to trim it, but since it's small, it's a little bit easier to kind of play with the form just as you're throwing it with fewer tools, which is always fun. I agree, Robert, that making things for the real world it's very satisfying. I had tea out of one of my teacups the other day and I was like, oh, this is nice. All right. So it's about that much, the bottom, so that's okay. And then, sorry, my notifications are on. Should have turned them off. Thought I did. All right. Take a little bit off of there. And then we'll just pull this out a little bit to get the base of the teacup. My ultimate goal one day is to make a teapot. I am not there yet. Well, that's not true. I could make a teapot, but it wouldn't be great. But I could definitely start practicing. They're not easy. Take a lot of time. And then start pulling this up. And do the little rim fix here. I'm compressing the bottom again, just to make sure that it's okay. And then pull this up again. And I'm trying to pull this more into a cylinder because it wants to go into a bowl shape pretty easily because it's, you know, the force of the wheel is pushing it out. So I don't want to do that. So I'm pulling it up first, and then once I get it to the height that I want, I will start to shape it. I'm also curious how thin I can throw this, because I have this is a little bit different clay. It's got some finer, it's like got a, I don't know what the right word to use is. I want to say like a finer silt composition. So it's a much softer clay than what I have thrown with in the past year. And so I would assume that means that I can like throw it a little bit thinner because it's a little bit different composition, but I don't know, I'm curious to see. So I'll do one more pull from the bottom. Ah, thank you for the Bob Ross feels. That's what I'm going for. I loved Bob Ross so much. All right. Hopefully this pulled up a little bit more clay from the bottom. I'm bad at doing bottom heavy stuff. The fun thing about doing cups of any type is that you really have to, like as we go along, we'll have to really think about the rim, which isn't something you usually consider when you are drinking. Like you don't think about that when you're drinking out of a cup normally. But there's a lot to the thickness versus thinness of a rim, the roundedness versus the sharpness, and actually the tilt of it, to make sure that it really kind of feels nice to drink out of. And you don't think about that a lot just because, like, you're, you know, a mug is a mug, a cup is a cup. But a cup that has a bad rim is not easy to drink out of, and honestly not very, it's not like a pleasing experience. And I don't know, I love tea, so I want it to be nice. All right, so I made this cylinder, and now I am going to try to decide kind of how I want to shape it. This is just for fun, so I'm just thinking. So I do want it to have a little bit of a foot, so I'm gonna kind of follow my hand up here, but leave the not press. And then I'm gonna start pulling out here and just bring this out a little bit. Like that. You never want to neglect an entire piece of clay, an entire portion of the clay. So if I'm going to slowly pull out the kind of bowl shape of this cup, that's fine, but I should always still start at the bottom and make sure that I'm including all of the clay, even if I'm not pressing it in. And that just helps to ensure that you don't get off center and all those good things. All right. Another thing to consider, especially for something like this, is how much this clay is going to shrink. So, pulled that off center a little bit. That was not good of me. So, when you fire clay, you're basically evaporating all of the water. That's part of the process. And when you do that, your clay shrinks. And how much your clay shrinks is typically dependent on kind of the composition of the clay, and also how much water the clay is currently storing. And I'm sure probably something else that someone who knows more about the chemistry of it could tell you. But I know that those two things matter. So when I'm making something, I need to take into account how much it's going to shrink. And so I believe this is going to shrink possibly 5 to 7%. I don't think it's wet enough to shrink as much as 10. I don't think. Like, I don't think that this clay shrinks that much. I need to probably look it up though. But anyway, you want to take that into account, because that means that you need to throw the cup slightly bigger than the actual size you want. That's also why, if you're ever doing a jar and it has a lid, it definitely needs to be thrown on the same day so that it will dry at the same rate, and you have to measure the opening so that you make sure that it will all dry to about the same size. I'm just gonna push this bottom out a little bit more, pull this up a little bit more. My finger's starting to catch. And so I'm thinking, okay, if this is gonna shrink a little bit, how big do I actually want to throw it, you know? And so this will be a smaller teacup, but that's okay. It's nice because I have a little teapot that is meant to serve one person, and so having a little bit smaller cup is great because then I get more cups of tea. Okay, you just want to make this belly a little bit more round. There, that's nice. And see, now it still has this little foot, and I can shape that a little bit right now, and then we're good to go. Oh, that's neat, Robert, about the tourist destination where they reenact stuff. That's neat, to be able to have different ways of like seeing how people did pottery and all sorts of crafts. I love that. Also, not too late to take up crafts again, Robert. Never too late. I just started doing this again at the beginning of last year. I did it in college for about a semester, and when I threw pottery in college, I took the pottery class thinking I wouldn't like it. I wanted to take an art class, but I didn't want to take any more drawing and stuff like that, and I honestly did not really think I was going to enjoy it that much, but I did. And so as an adult now, I've, you know, finally started taking it again, which is fun. So now I'm just going to really kind of trim this foot and clean it up a little bit. Now we'll still have to trim the cup, right? And that's when I can actually make this foot look nice and very kind of elegant, which is absolutely what I want to do. But right now, I'm just trimming away the excess clay because I don't need it. And all that's going to do is like increase the drying time and stuff like that. So I'm taking this away, and then when it does dry, I'll be able to trim into this and kind of add the foot. And then also going to smooth out this clay. And what else do I want to do? I think I'm gonna very lightly use this metal rib just to smooth out the edging. And all this does is create a super smooth surface. Which I really like on all of the stuff I do. Now, we come to the rim. So, like I mentioned, the rim is an important part of thinking about how this cup is going to work. So it's a pretty thin rim, which I wanted, so that's good. So check. Rim not too thick. 2, let's look at how the rim is positioned. So it's hard to see when you're not sitting here and with my not great lighting, which will be resolved in a week or so, but it's quite sharp on the edge, and clay will dry and harden sharp if you don't kind of round it out. So that's what we're gonna do, is just round this rim out so that that doesn't have any sharp edges. And I pushed too hard. Good job, Marissa. That's okay. I can fix it. Delicately. And patiently. So yeah, we just want to make sure that the rim is very smooth and doesn't have any sharp edges to it. So we'll just compress this a little. Ugh, I squished it good. That's okay. There we go. Clay has a bit of a memory, and so if you just kind of remind it, like, no, this is what you look like before I smashed you. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, so then we still need to smooth this out, and maybe what I'll do, work a little bit better, see how deep this is just use the inside of my fingers here to really smooth that out. Yep, that worked. And there we have a ring. And I probably want to kind of smooth out. I see one little sharp spot, so I'm going to try to be very careful and smooth this out. Have to like think about it before I put it down on the thing. Gently. Okay. And sometimes I have to tell myself, stop messing with it. Stop touching it. Okay. So, exactly. exactly, Robert. You can do all of the hobbies now. Sorry, I only remember to look up every few minutes. And there we go. Dun, da, da, da. I'm just trying to get my wire to let go of it. Come on, yo. Look good. There we go. I might put this on another bat right now, actually. And yes, Robert, the speed of the wheel is controlled by my foot. The pedal is on the right-hand side. And so I speed it up or slow it down depending on just like how hard I press. All right. You want to see something terrifying? Watch me try to get this off the bat while it's wet. I like to preface this every time by saying part of the beauty of pottery is that sometimes you destroy things by accident. So you kind of got to be okay with it. I'm going to try to move this onto a drying bat so that I can continue just to work off of this bat. And it's very tiny and very slippery, and I can't get the wire out. Okay. This is why I dry it on the same bat, but it's good to learn not to do that. I'm telling myself. Boop. Just like that. Ta-da! And then tomorrow probably, or the day after, we will trim this foot and make sure that it actually looks all nice on the bottom. And that is a teacup. And I'll probably do a couple more of those right now, actually. It was a small enough piece of clay that I could probably throw it off the hump, but I've got this one other little lump of clay that I'll use up first. So, all right. Thanks, Robert. So the other challenge I like to give myself is to throw things that look similar, because it's harder than you'd think to do a set. Obviously, because like it's all handmade, and it's hard to do the same thing twice, exactly the same. It's easy when you're manufacturing out of a mold. It's hard when that mold is your hands. Or your hands? You know what I mean. Anyway, it's a good challenge. The reason it's a good challenge is because it helps you understand how your hands work, how the form actually works, and it helps train your eye. Does it always work? Hell no. Is it a good thing to practice? Always. So, that's what I'm going to do. I can see the teapot up here. I put it on the table in front of me so I can see it, and I'm going to attempt to throw a teapot that looks basically the same, and I will pull it onto the same bat afterward and we can compare. Okay. Oh, that's right. So I'm very short And I forgot that I saved this little block of cardboard to put my foot on when I throw. You're supposed to use your knee to brace yourself. And I can't, like the table is slightly too high for me to get my knee in the right position. So I have this little block of cardboard. Oh yes, that's way better. 10 out of 10 for remembering that I saved that. Good job, me. So I'm centering and compressing. I am short and small, Robert. Sometimes it's a struggle. Okay. Not quite centered, but we're getting there. Somehow just managed to push it off center. Sorry. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Oh, the string. Oh, it's the string from my apron. Good call. I've gotten the string from my hoodie cotton here before. Not great. It's not great. Thank you for telling me that it's there. I forgot to put it inside the apron. Funny that that's an option since this is in fact a pottery apron. You'd think that they would have thought of that, huh? Okay. So it's going to start out roughly the same. So fairly simple there. Where'd my needle tool go? There it is. Put things back where they belong. Oh, that's way too thick. Nope. Not ready. Okay. That's probably good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Possibly a little too thin, but oh well. It is what it is. Can't change it now. Pull out till I get it to the thickness we want. pretty good. And then we'll pull it up. Oh, thanks, Robert. I'm glad that it's relaxing. It's also relaxing on my end. It's very meditative. Well, usually. Sometimes you try to throw a big old piece of clay and that's not very meditative. That's mostly just sad. Alright, so keep bringing this up. I think a couple more pulls and then we can shape it. Just looking at the cup too. It's like, what did I do last time? Okay. Alright, now we can start to shape this, so I'm gonna compress this bottom here a little bit more. Make sure my hands are wet enough to actually do this. And then okay. I'm just making the belly of the cup again, trying to get that same shape. I'm keeping my hands very interlocked. I don't know if you can see that. Since your hands are obviously the guide, you want to make sure that you want to make sure you've got a stable point. So my elbow is tucked into my thigh for stability, and then my right hand presses against my left hand, and they almost create like, not a counterbalance, but my fingers can create kind of like this vise for the clay to go in between, and it's very stable. So, alright, looking at that other cup, seeing what we gotta do. Gotta get this part out a little more, so we're pushing on the inside more than the outside to really pull out the belly of the cup. And yeah, it's starting to come together. Okay. I feel pretty good about that. This one is slightly less wide, so maybe I'll pull it out one more time. I need one of those measuring tools, Robert. I'm laughing at that, rolling a nat 20 on this campaign. That's funny. You know, you think it's perfect until you actually measure it, and then you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I meant to do. Okay. There's a lot of clay right there, and it's irritating me. Be cup, be a cup. Sometimes you have to convince it to be a shape that you want. And if you coax it by saying, be a cup, or be a bowl, totally works. You know, sometimes when I draw, I think to myself like, hair, 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 like, and I do the same thing when I throw, like, be a cup, you're a cup, you feel like a cup. Okay, let's work on the rim. I'm gonna compress this. I will say, I think this cup is better than the first cup, so that's all. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention last time. So I'm compressing the rim, but I also try to compress it at a slight angle. So you want to round the edges, but you want to compress at a very slight angle. And the reason for that is that it's easier to drink out of when you've got a slightly angled edge. It's much easier to drink out of than something that's super rounded or flat. Things you wouldn't think about if you weren't throwing the cup you were going to drink out of. And now when I drink out of cups that don't do this, I get very irritated. Now I want to round this edge out. And I didn't mess it up this time. Huzzah! and make this smoother. Yep, yep, yep. And then move the side a little bit, give it a nice little finish. You know, the other thing I should practice that I'm not going to do right now because it's too small is smoothing out the inside of my pieces. I'm not very good at that. I try to throw fairly smooth, so it's not like a lot of obvious fingerprints, but it's not something I'm great at, and I need to be better at it. Now I'm going to fix this foot, take away this excess clay. Okay. Pretty good looking cup. Yeah. No, come off of there. Stop it. Okay. All right. Let me get this back again and I'll pull it onto here. You know, I agree, Robert. Like the cup and soup, the lip on the, like the lip or the rim on the soup bowl or cup, I agree. Like, I want to drink out of it. Don't make it hard for me to do that. All right, I'm gonna wire this off and hopefully not squish and or drop it. Man, they're not exactly the same size. Son of a biscuit. Should I fix it? Do I want to fix it? Is it worth it, Marissa? Is it? Looks so nice right now. Oh, but the other one does look better. No. Maybe. No. Maybe? They're not the same. They're not the same. Can you see? No, you can't really see. I'm like I'm telling you they're not the same, but you can't even see that they're not. Oh man, the first one was way wider. Man, all right, I'm risking it all. I can't, they're not the same. That was the whole goal. No, I'm not selling it as a one-off. Will not do. Has to come in pairs. Doesn't have to come in pairs. I wanted them to be the same. Be the same. It's okay. I think we can fix it. Not by going that fast though. All right, watch. Watch me eat my words as I slowly ruin this cup. Nah. want them to be the same, but I also want to be patient. Because patience is key to not screwing it up. Same? Same piece? Almost. Maybe if I stop spinning it, it will be easier to tell if they are the same. Well, they're way closer now, so win. Call that a win. Okay, let me make sure that I really smooth out the bottom here. Oh man, I'm gonna have to trim a lot of that bottom off. I can already tell. I feel like I'm winning. We'll see. We will see. Okay. And then sponge out the bottom of this. I need one of those little sponges on a stick. There we go. Okay. Now I will sponge, or I will wire this onto the bat. And hey, I think they look pretty similar. They're the same width, and I think the profile is quite similar. We will see once I get this off. Let's see. What do you think? They look very similar. Huh? Huh? Yeah, I think so. I think they look similar. Hooray! Let me kind of fix the side of this one here. I think that should be okay. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, they look alike. Profiles look alike. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, well, that was fun. Exercise 1, accomplished. Make things that look alike. Yay. Cool. Pulling it off the bat is also a great idea because I only have to use one of these bats every time, which is way better than using 3 bats each time because then I have to clean it. And that's the only thing about pottery that I really don't like is the amount of cleaning required. It is not a small amount of cleaning. Honestly, sometimes when I throw on Tuesday nights, like tonight when I throw, I leave it till the next day because I look at it and I'm like, I can't. It's too much and I don't want to do it. So, anyway, okay. Let us now move to sake cups. Hooray! I made a sake cup a while ago, just the one, and it was not a great sake cup. So, you know, as someone said last time, I think it was Will, it's nice to have nice things. And so, I think I should get some nice sake cups. Robert, yeah. There's a lot of do I want to clean or not today that goes into whether or not I do pottery, and that's honestly part of the reason that I set up a schedule, because I feel like the schedule was public, and even if not very many people show up, I know that it's public, and I know that people can see it, and so it's like, well, I better be there. Because honestly, cleaning this up is like, it's really not fun. It takes a lot of work. Plus the clay, when it dries, is not good for your lungs. Like, you don't want to breathe in the dust. It creates silica dust, which is not great for your lungs, and I don't have asthma, but I don't have great lungs anyway. Like, I have sensitive lungs, I guess I should say. So I'm pretty strict about cleaning, which means it takes just a long ass time. Where did hold on. I have lost my little tie for the bag. I need it. Oh, there it is. Sorry. I'm slowly figuring out other things I need to make this workable, and every week I'm like kind of, okay, should I buy this other little thing? I need a little side table to put stuff on, I think. Eventually, one day, I will have a shed, like a pottery shed. That's the ultimate goal. And then soon, well, after that, I'll be able to hopefully learn how to fire. I don't know that I'll have my own kiln, but I do want to learn how to do that. Hee. Yeah, Robert, I did. That's why I do record it and I put it on YouTube exactly for that, so that it at least feels like it has a little bit of longevity, you know, which is also nice. Okay, so this is a bunch of little pieces of clay that I'm gonna wedge together. This is a lot of clay, so I actually am going to put this on the ground and wedge it on the ground. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Also, I don't know that it's that interesting. But I need better leverage or I'm gonna hurt my back if I try to do it on this stool and use my knee as a leverage, so. Yeah, camera does not work for that at all. Okay, so all I'm doing is basically slamming the clay onto this canvas. I am kneeling on the wedging table so it doesn't move, and just squishing the clay into the canvas to get air bubbles out and to get the excess water out. You want to have you want the clay to have some water in it, obviously, for it to just be dust. But you want to get the excess, you want to get it to like a manageable consistency because you're going to add water to it, you know? So since you're going to add, water to it, you do want to make sure that you're getting some of the water out and also popping any air bubbles that may exist prior to trying to throw. So it's really interesting because this is like, I make a lot of bread, and it's weird because there are such similar techniques to baking bread as there are to clay. It's kind of fascinating. But you almost want to do the opposite around the kneading stage. When you're kneading bread, you're trying to create surface tension so that the bread has a good spring, and you want air in your bread, you know? But here, you're just really smashing the air out as much as possible. Okay. So, that is done. Dun dun. And this is a big old hunk of clay. If any of you saw one of the things I did a couple weeks ago, I got a big old piece of clay like this and I was like, this is the biggest piece of clay I've ever thrown. This is gonna be hilarious or terrifying. I don't know why I sound like that in my own head. What does that say? But anyway, it didn't go well. The clay won. After a certain size, it starts to become a fight between you and the clay definitely won that round. But that is not what I'm doing today. As funny as it would be to watch me wrestle with this. One day I will be able to do that, but that day was not that day. That didn't make sense. You know what I mean? But what we're gonna do now is different. What we're gonna do now is called throwing off the hump. Robert, I wonder if there are similarities between clay makers and bakers, like personality traits or the way we think about things. Because I love to bake, and I love to do pottery, obviously. And there are similarities between the two processes, just in general. It's interesting to think about. So we're gonna throw off the hump. So I didn't make that name up. It's just what it's called, because why not? But what that means is you get a big old piece of clay, like this. Hello, big old piece of clay. And I'm gonna slam it down. It's going to make a loud noise. If you do not want to hear the loud noise, I suggest you mute for a moment. Okay, we have done that. And now this is ready to go. So when you throw off the hump, you can see how terribly off-center this is, correct? Not great, Bob. So normally it would be this fight where you're trying to like get the clay to become all centered and oh my goodness, why won't it work, you know? But when you throw off the hump, it's actually for throwing smaller pieces. And so you don't need to get it all to center. You just need to center the piece that you're working on. So that means I don't have to worry about this part all the way down here. I just have to center the top part. And so I pick a spot and I start to pull up, and that becomes the piece of clay that I work with. And you can, I'll show you in just one second once I get this pulled up a little bit. You can see maybe that the base is very off center, but this spot, this part, is starting to look like decent, right? And so this is how you throw smaller things like sake cups or egg cups. And I've only done this maybe 2 or 3 times, so we're gonna learn together here. And I'm gonna remember how to do this. But basically, I've pulled this up now, and then I am going to even out the top and create a hole like I would for a cup. And basically I throw my cup just like I would normally. The difference is that I'm throwing it off of this big piece of clay, and you're just kind of pretending that the big piece of clay doesn't really exist. And so I'm trying to think, what do I want my sake cup to look like? And how big do I want it? It's gonna shrink. So let's start here. So I'm making a little demarcation for myself. And if I'm gonna do that, then I want this to go down slightly deeper. Like that. And normally we could measure with our needle tool, but obviously this is kind of a guessing game at this point, so not super useful. I'm going to start pulling this part up. Clay slappers and yeast slappers. Could be a competition as well. Okay. So first I'm just going to kind of pull this up. And recenter. I'm going to compress this a little bit more too, because it's a tiny bit off center, but I think I can fix it. Okay. I see where it's off center, and I don't like it, and so I'm going to cut this off. There we go. What shape do I want this to be? That's a good question. The one I made was kind of wide, and I didn't like that. It wasn't great. So, I think maybe something a little more elegant and tall, and then we can add a foot to it. That might be nice. Sometimes you'll get lumps in your clay, and you don't want that because it makes it uneven. And so what you can do is just, when you're pulling up, you just go back down the same way you came up when you were pulling it, and it, for whatever reason, smooths it out. Don't know the science about it. No idea why it works. Happy it does though. Okay. That's not big enough for a sake cup, right? I'm trying to imagine the ones we have upstairs. And this is not, I think it needs to be a little bit either wider or deeper, so. Yeah, I think you're right, Robert, that they're very small in diameter at the lip. I also feel like they're slightly wider. There is an amount of liquid they're supposed to hold. I mean, I guess technically from what I know, and it's not much, is that basically if you were to create a sake set, you would have the bottle, the sake bottle, and however many cups you have, the bottle should fill all of the cups. So I think from there it's up to you, but I did think that they were supposed to hold a certain amount. 2 ounces? 3 ounces? I don't know. Should have done proper research before I did this. That's on me. I can double check and not right now because I'm covered in clay, but I can check and make sure I get it right next time. Okay, so how do I feel about this? I feel like it's the right size, which means I need to throw it a little bit bigger because it's gonna shrink. Robert, it does sound like math. It is math. I do think there is an amount they're supposed to hold, and now I feel really badly that I don't know what it is. Okay. It's getting too dry. Stop it. Be better. It's very humid outside today too. I don't know why. This clay is. Oh, because I wedged it. Duh. I was there for that. I literally said, you wedge the clay to get extra water out of it. And then I'm like, why is this clay so dry? I don't understand. Ah, I made a weird little divot. Yes. Okay, now how do I feel about this? Hello, Grits and Graves. I do not have a clay studio. I have, well, I guess that depends on what you would consider a studio. No, I don't. I have a pottery wheel and I have a makeshift table and yep, that's about it. I get the clay, I get all of my ceramics fired at a local place here in Portland. I do not throw, or I don't fire it myself. I would like to one day have a pottery studio in my home, or rather in a shed outside my home where I can close the door on it when it's dirty. But soon. Okay, so I think that looks okay. Let me grab my bat that has the other pieces on it, and then we're gonna wire through this and take it off. And I'm just gonna keep kind of throwing these cups until I get through this mass of clay. And it's just kind of a fun practice because you can see how fast you can go, see how many different shapes you can make. I'm very much a keep practicing and get the reps in type of person in order to learn. And I think especially for something hands-on, that's better. So, okay, so the bottom of it is right there. Shoop. Okay, so then that means I want to cut pretty near where I made that shelf. And, ooh, let's see if I can even get it off. See? Okay. It's okay, we're learning together. Not gonna be perfect the first time. And that's okay. Oh, how? How do I get it off? Oh no, it's okay. Okay. So there's a big foot there that you can probably see. Well, maybe. And I'll have to trim that. But it mostly worked. Again, it's a learning process as I drop it. Good job. Okay, I totally ruined that one. That's okay. Look, I just dropped it when I went to put it down and swooshed it. That's okay. It's not a big deal. Yes, I do have the pottery wheel is in the basement, so I guess I do have a studio. All right, so one sake cup made, one sake cup lost. Cool. Starting again. That's okay, it's gonna be better this time. All right. There we go. And I'm going to make my demarcation. Why am I calling it that? I don't know. I don't know why I'm calling it that. And start to just keep going down there to make that a cup. Hey Jason, you made a mistake? You made a mistake doing the boop? Oh. Okay. I guess I'm gonna leave to eat here in a second. Thank you for ordering food. I don't know that he can hear me. I hear him walking around. I don't know where he is. We are making chili tomorrow and something else delicious. Oh, carnitas. I'm making carnitas. That will be very tasty. But today we ordered pho because we were too lazy to cook. So I will finish this sake cup and then I shall eat. Okay, that's not totally centered. I'm going to cut this top off here. Oh my gosh, why can I not put my needle tool in the right spot every time? There is literally a bucket and I cannot manage to put it in the bucket. Oh yes, the pot lifters. I used one of those at one of my classes when I was taking classes, and you know how it goes in like this? I don't know what I did. If I jerked up, I did something, and I smashed the rib of the pot. So good job, me. No, pot lifters are fantastic though. I should get some of those. You know, the other thing that I do want to get is, have you seen the tools that center the work? They center the work for you to trim. They start on the outside and they kind of squish in. I love those. And I want to get those because I do not like having to recenter my pots to trim them because I am lazy. And I feel like I do it right. I do a pretty good job. But I spend so much time trying to center the dang thing. Just do it for me. Okay. Okay, this is a fun little cup of unknown size that holds an unknown amount of sake. Oh, come on. There's a tiny little lump because I pressed too hard. Got overly ambitious there. compress that rim. Make sure it has a nice angle but is rounded. I'm gonna do one more time. Oh, using it when you're throwing multiple pieces off of the lifter to lift multiple pieces off of one ball of clay like this. That's a good idea. I did not try it for that, which also may mean that I was using it incorrectly. That's a great idea. Well, I'm sold on that. Okay. Let me fix this rim. Not gonna lie, I don't love this cup. I wish I would have looked at a picture, more than one picture beforehand. I might do these again next week because I do love them. I think they're really pretty. But I'm not really happy with my form, and I would like to keep practicing it. Okay, so the other way that I've seen them come off of here is you keep the wheel turning and then pull it off. So let's try that, everybody. To answer your question about if these are gifts or do I sell them, I only use them as gifts now. But I'm gonna start a little Etsy shop and I'm gonna sell them, but I'm gonna put all the proceeds to donations because I do this for fun and I'd like to feel like it's a good way that I could give back since this is not my day job. All right. Oh, come on. I'm getting that pot lifter. You sold me on that. Because this is clearly not working. Okay, I have one more idea that one of my teachers told me if I can find it. Okay, haha. So, hold on. I gotta reach into this bin here. Hold, please. Oh my gosh. So because I am picky about cleanliness, I have a clean bin for my tool buckets and a dirty bin for my tool buckets. Totally just stuffed my dirty hand into the clean bucket. So good job, me. All right. So my teacher taught me this other technique that I got to work once, where you basically take a string, a little red string. I mean, it doesn't have to be red. I don't know why I said that. But you take a little string and you just kind of like slap it onto here and then get the wheel going and it will cut it for you. Ha! Ta-da! That totally worked. So, look at her, having great ideas. All right, I am quite happy about that. That was way better than trying to use a wire. Wow. I can't get it off my finger now. All right, let me attempt to set this down and not totally squish it. It'll be a good trimming exercise. I did not squish it. and that was great. Okay, so apparently food is here. So I am going to end a couple minutes early and go eat, and I will wrap this clay up and practice maybe tomorrow. Oh, maybe I can stream tomorrow because I believe I have a day off. So we'll see. Anyway, it was very fun learning these new things with you and talking with you in the chat. I appreciate you coming in and saying hello, and I will be back at latest next Tuesday, maybe a little bit earlier if I have some good ideas. All right, I'll talk to you all later. Bye.